Hey there, my name is Parliamentary. I was formerly a president of the York Debating Society, and I'm currently serving as its director of training. This video is going to be an introduction into a style of debate we train and compete in called British Parliamentary. So in this video, we're going to talk about things such as the basic structure of British Parliamentary debate, pre-round proceedings, how a round itself is actually conducted, various positions, and so on. So my goal for this video is that if you're a completely new debater, you'll be able to get somewhat of a good understanding of British parliamentary style before you go into one of our meetings. It's meant more for new debaters or maybe even high school debaters who want to see what the differences between competitive university debate is and what they're used to. So there are a lot of nuances in British parliamentary debate that I can't possibly cover in one video, but hopefully by the end of this video, a lot of you will get a firm understanding of what goes on inside of our debate club. So throughout the year, we actually compete in two debate styles. In the fall semesters, we compete in British Parliamentary, and in the winter semesters, we compete in Canadian Parliamentary. We actually have a separate video for Canadian Parliamentary, but I recommend that you watch this video first before you move on to that one, because there are some similarities, and getting a firm understanding of British Parliamentary is going to really help you understand Canadian Parliamentary. Okay, so let's get right into it. Let's look at the basic setup of British Parliamentary debate. The British parliamentary style, like any other kind of debate, naturally has two sides. One side is called the government, sometimes also referred to as the proposition side, and the other the opposition. Under the government side, debaters will always be in support of a particular topic or motion, and under the opposition side, debaters will always be rejecting that motion. So here's what the basic layout of British parliamentary debate looks like. There will be 4 debaters arguing for the government side, and these 4 debaters are then split into 2 teams, resulting in 2 debaters per team. The same grouping goes for the opposition side. Therefore, the total number of debaters in any given British parliamentary round will be 8, and the total number of teams will be 4. All 4 teams are going to be randomly assigned to one of 4 positions before the motion is announced. In other words, they don't get to pick a side. The objective for each team is to place first out of 4 teams. So even though there are 2 teams supporting government and 2 teams supporting opposition, only one team will be declared the winner of the round, and the rest will be ranked 2nd, 3rd, or 4th. In a debate round, there will also be at least one independent head judge who is called the chair and is referred to by the debaters as the honorable speaker, and usually 2 or more judges called panelists. Okay, so now that you have a basic idea of the different teams in debate and the different sides you can be on, let's go right into the proceedings that lead up to a debate round. At a tournament, an individual called the chief adjudicator, along with an adjudication team, will create the motions to be debated on. These individuals are independent members of the debate tournament and therefore do not compete in any of the rounds. After randomly assigning a position to each team, the chief adjudicator will then announce the same motion to every team at the tournament at the exact same time. This is the first time that any of the debaters have heard the motion. All of the debaters have then exactly 15 minutes of prep time, which is the time between the announcement of the motion to the start of the debate round. During prep time, teams are not allowed to consult any outside resources, including the internet, any books or magazines, or even other people. Moving on, let's see what the structure of any BP debate round looks like. In BP debate, your team is assigned to one of 4 positions. As mentioned before, you will either be on the government or the opposition side, but you will also be further assigned a position on the first half of the debate or on the second half of the debate. Each of the quadrants also has a name. This is the opening government, the opening opposition, the closing government, and the closing opposition. In the first half of the government side, or the opening government, we will find the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister. And on the first half of the opposition side, or opening opposition, we will find the Leader of the Opposition and the Deputy Leader of the Opposition. In British parliamentary, the first half of the debate is often where the most obvious arguments on both sides are presented. Therefore, the second half has the challenge of coming up with arguments that differ from any of those made on the first half. However, note that the second half will also have more time to prepare for their speeches in virtue of their speaking positions being later in the round. On the second half of the government, or closing government, we find the member of the government and the government whip. And on the second half of the opposition, or closing opposition, we find the member of the opposition and the opposition whip. So let's move on to the order in which the debaters speak. The first person to speak in the debate will always be the Prime Minister, the second the Leader of the Opposition, third the Deputy Prime Minister, and so on until we reach the final speaker in the debate, the Opposition Whip. So note that the debate consists of a back and forth between the government and opposition speakers. So at a tournament, this is what you're going to see before the motion is announced. First, you're going to see the room number, which is important to keep note of. Then you're going to see 4 headings corresponding to the first government, first opposition, second government, and second opposition. And then underneath each of those headings, you're going to see the team name. So that means that if I'm on Team York, and if I'm underneath the first government, then I'm going to be arguing for the opening government position. Keep in mind that at a tournament, you're going to be arguing for one of these 4 positions at least once, and in between rounds, the teams are going to be switching positions randomly. Before we look at each of the 8 positions in more detail, let's first look at the timed speeches in British Parliamentary. All 8 debaters are expected to give a speech not exceeding 7 minutes in length. At the end of the 7 minutes, a panelist will count down 15 seconds of grace time and then repeatedly bang their hand on the table until the debater stops speaking. In every speech, the first and last minute is referred to as protected time. During this time, points of information, or POIs for short, are not allowed. POIs are short statements or questions that anyone on the opposite side of the debater speaking at the podium can raise to that debater. There are generally 3 things you should keep in mind when giving a POI. First, the POI should be directed at a part of the speech that, if successful, will highlight to the judge where that speaker's arguments fail. Second, the POI should highlight your own team's arguments and not that of the team in the other half of your side. Meaning, for example, if you are on the second half of the debate, you should not be giving POIs that strengthen the first half's arguments or remind the judge of their speeches. And finally, POIs must not exceed 10 seconds in length and should therefore be as short as possible. So if a debater wants to deliver a POI, then they must first wait until the protected time is over and the unprotected time begins. Second, they must silently stand up and indicate that they want to offer a POI, and this is usually done by extending one of their hands forward. Finally, they must wait until the individual at the podium has signaled that they will accept their POI, in which case the debater offering the POI will give their statement. Or if the individual at the podium indicates that they do not want to take the POI, then they can also wave you down. In this case, you must sit down immediately, but you can still offer POIs later in the speech. Note that the individual at the podium can wave down a debater even if they're in the middle of the POI. In this case, that debater must again stop talking immediately and sit down. It's generally considered disrespectful to the individual at the podium and the rest of the room to ignore this and to talk over them when they clearly have indicated that they want you to stop giving the POI. Remember that you can't give POIs to an individual who is on the same side of you. So for instance, if I'm on the government side, then I can only offer POIs to any opposition debater during their speeches. And if an opposition speaker is currently at the podium, then I must wait until the protected time is over before I can offer my POI. For 7-minute speeches, it's generally recommended that the debater accept 2 POI requests during their speech, and then also offer at least 2 POIs to all speeches on the side opposite to them. So just a quick note here about timing. In the first couple weeks when we train new debaters, we actually end up doing 5-minute speeches before we move on to the 7-minute speeches. This means that in the 5-minute speeches, you now have 30 seconds of protected time, meaning from 0 to 30 seconds of your speech and from 4 minutes and 30 seconds to 5 minutes of your speech, you're going to be in protected time. So we do this to get new debaters familiar with the new style of debate, and also because the novice tournaments, in which only novice or new debaters can participate in, also use 5-minute speeches.